He said, you're headed down this path that is not going to be good for you. You're the way I see your life happening right now, if you don't fix these things that you need to do. And I did. I radically did that proverbial turn. And I think that that's the foundation. He didn't know this, but he started my change in the way I think and molding and shaping men to walk in purpose in their health, in their relationships, and in their finances.
Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Langley, and I'm so excited to spend some time today with some of our Global Leaders Network team members, and they're part of our family. Actually, they're very special to Lori and I. I've known Lisa on my right and Mike on my left here for many years. In fact, I had the wonderful privilege of actually performing their wedding ceremony, and they're still together. Yay. So that's exciting. But part of our commitment is to bring you content that really focuses on lordship, leadership, and lifestyle. Seems like we've put together a lot of content recently on lordship. Obviously, that's super important to us. Anything that we do in life that's going to be successful better be established upon his lordship. Amen. Secondly, what we do to love and serve people as good servant leaders. So lordship, leadership. But today, the third area that we like to talk about is lifestyle. And, I was thinking recently, regardless of when you'll get a chance to see this podcast, I was thinking recently, we're shooting this during this kind of the end of this quarantine time of the COVID-19, the coronavirus thing. And we've all been inundated with so much information. Some of it's good information, quite frankly. Some of it's not so good information. Some of it's very misleading. Some of it's truth. And it's hard to kind of dig through a lot of that. And the interesting thing to me personally is that there's such little being said by the health experts that actually has anything to do with health and us being healthy, health and nutrition. And the word that I like to use is being whole in spirit, whole in soul, and whole in body. Amen. So Michael and Lisa have been building a business called Hefluence, and it's all about helping people live their best life to fulfill the call of God in their life in a healthy manner, doing that as being able to give our best. And you can't give your best if you're struggling. And we do not want to minimize the health challenges people have. We don't want to minimize, the issues that need to be addressed. But at the same time, we want to provide great information that will help you maybe break through to new levels so you can begin to live a healthy and a whole life. I want to read something to you. One of my favorite courses, one of our popular CLSD Global courses, is my class that I do called The Dynamics of Effective Communication. Cool. And we have a lot of fun with that class. I think both of you guys have taken that class. And Mike, you do a lot of public speaking. Yes. And he told me that he uses the principles from that class. So that's good. But I take a whole section, I just kind of cut out, and I talk about the personal qualities of an effective leader. So if you're going to be an effective communicator, there's a lot of skill and practice that goes into that, but it's not just about having something to say. It's really about who we are as we say what we say. And so I talk about these personal qualities, and I want to read to you from 1 Corinthians chapter 9. I was going to read the New King James Version, but I've really become a fan of the Passion Translation.
Yes. Especially Lisa does too.
Does she? Yeah. Especially for devotional study. Yes. This has been excellent.
All about that.
Probably wouldn't replace my Greek study Bible, but I love reading from this. Anyhow, this is 1 Corinthians 9, verses 24 through 27. And Paul says here, isn't it obvious that all runners on the racetrack keep on running to win? Michael ran track with Ohio State. And so I give him a hard time about that. The Ohio State, he would say. Yes. So some of my friends just threw up in their mouth, but that's all right. Just stay with us. But I love how Paul uses the metaphor here of athletes, and he talks about running, and specifically, all runners on the racetrack keep on running to win. I like to win. I don't like to lose. I think God's a winner. And so, he doesn't lose, and I like to be on his side.
That means he's competitive, overly competitive.
Well,
but we're the same, so we have battles about that all the time.
When Phil Jackson became the coach of the Chicago Bulls, he got the team together, and he said, "Listen, there's no I in team." Michael Jordan piped up and said, "But there sure is in win." There's an I in win, so I like that. Anyhow, let me get back to this.
Sorry.
So he said, we keep on running to win, but only one receives the victor's prize. Yet each one of you must run the race to be victorious. Some people aren't even in the race. See, I know you can't win if you're not even in the race. So one of the things our leadership network is supposed to do is help you, nurture you along in the race. He says, a true athlete will be disciplined in every respect, practicing constant self-control in order to win a laurel wreath that quickly withers. But we run our race to win a victor's crown that will last forever. For that reason, I don't run just for exercise or box like one throwing aimless punches, but I train like a champion athlete. Not good?
That's good.
I subdue my body and I get it under my control so that after preaching the good news to others, I myself won't be disqualified.
Amen.
So listen, no matter what your calling is, you might not be called to be a pulpit preacher, but you've got a sphere of influence, and you have the potential to maximize your purpose and your kingdom calling. And I've known a lot of amazing people who sadly could not get their physical man under good stewardship, under discipline that Paul talks about here. He disciplined himself. And they, quite frankly, they left this life early. They should still be around, but they didn't. So we only get one body, and we're spirit, soul, and body. And I think it was Lisa, when we were talking about it, you said, no matter how you look at it, one affects the whole.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So we tend to put a lot of emphasis on the spiritual nature of man, which we should. We spend a lot of time talking about the soul, but for some reason we downplay the body. And all I know is if I don't have a body, I'm not on this planet. And
place to live.
Well, it's we Lisa and I have had this magnet, Dr. Langley, for since probably before we were married, actually. And it says, if you don't take care of your body, where will you live?
Yeah.
And it's super profound when you think about it from God's perspective. Like, God lives inside of our body. He takes residence inside of our body.
Yeah.
If we don't take care of it, one of our close friends and mentors, Dr. John Lloyd, used to say, I could smoke if I wanted. He said, but then I remember who lives inside my body.
Yeah.
I could drink if I wanted, but then I remember who lives inside my body. So it's just a thought process. If you don't take care of your body, where would you live?
Yeah. So listen, sometimes when people are struggling with health issues, maybe overweight or whatever, they feel shame, they feel humiliated, and nothing that we say, listen, we love you and we want to see you live life to the max. We want to see you fulfill your kingdom potential. And so we don't want you to feel in any way, shape, or form talked down to. We've all had struggles and challenges, and we all need encouragement as we run this race of life together. We're not lone rangers. We're in this as a family. And that's what we want to be to you through our Christian Life Global Leaders Network. We just want to help you stay in the game. And we call it the Pinnacle Channel because Pinnacle means reach the top. We want you to be able to go all the way to the top and fulfill your purpose and destiny. So that means that we have to give attention to every area of our life. And I just wrote a few of these things down here. Our prayer life, our time of intimacy with the Father. There's nothing that replaces that. Our study time, obviously, you need to read the Word. You need to study. Another place Paul told Timothy, study. And every translation says the same thing, study, to show yourself approved unto God, a workman who needeth not to be ashamed, but who can rightly divide the word of truth. So that's important. Another thing I wrote down here is just meditation, because when I say meditation, I know people get kind of weird with that thing. I'm not talking about some kind of new age thing, but sometimes just stilling yourself and thinking, making sure that you have, I call it brain time. Just allowing yourself time. Don't be so rushed and hurried that you just don't sit and think. And meditation is a biblical principle. It's a biblical concept.
As a man thinks, therefore he is.
Exactly. Right? So don't skip that. Communication. When I taught this for public speaking, I said, now I'm not talking here about communication as a public speaker. I'm talking about how we communicate with each other. Mm-hmm. The interpersonal communication and how we nurture one another is vital to our success as leaders. Another one is recreation. We all need some downtime. We enjoyed today, the three of us went on like a 22-mile bike ride. And it was just such an amazing day. It was beautiful out. And I'll be honest with you, it was praise and worship. Just enjoying life and being healthy to get out there and ride our bicycles and enjoy such the fellowship and a beautiful day together. So you need recreation. Now, our recreation today did happen to involve exercise, but recreation is not necessarily a substitute for exercise, because you can get in a boat with a fishing line and throw that over there and sit there all day and have some downtime, but you're not getting a lick of exercise. Or you can grab your favorite book and curl up in the corner and read and look out the window at the lake or something and have some recreate time, but you're not getting any exercise. But downtime is important. Recreation is important. You can't stay pedal to the metal, 100 miles an hour all the time. But then we come over to this area called exercise. And if you can get recreation and exercise, that's wonderful. But don't skip a consistent, disciplined regimen of exercise. And these guys are experts in nutrition and stewardship of our bodies. And that's why I'm so excited to have them on our program today, because I want them to be able to add they've studied and they work with leaders and people who are struggling, people who are at the top, people who are at the bottom. And so it's just great to have you guys really on this program with me here today, because this has been a passion of mine for quite a while. So I put together what I call Life to the Max, and these are just the Randall Langley 4 pillars of health. Lisa actually has her own it's a blog, isn't it, that she writes about this very thing. So I thought that was interesting. But my 4 pillars of healthy living are your eating plan. And I include in that basically what you're putting in your bodies. That would include any supplements you take, hydration, all of that. I just call it your eating plan, your cardio plan, secondly, your strength training plan. Interestingly, the older you get, the more vitally important it is that you do strength training, because as you get older, your bones are getting brittle. I mean, you need to supplement your muscle mass. I mean, you've got to work those muscles. Okay. And then number 4, especially women. That's correct. Maybe you can speak to that a little bit, Lisa. But your your sleep plan. People really overlook the importance of getting enough rest, because you can just grind yourself down without
into the grave.
Yeah, right. So this is kind of the emphasis that I want to talk about today. Mike, tell us a little bit about maybe the mission of Hefluence and how God is using you and Lisa in the realm of health and nutrition.
Well, Hefluence was created many years ago, but we rebranded just several years ago because we felt like that was something that God was leading us to do. And now it's more focused on men, and Lisa is the one that pushes me and balances me out to get the message out there and keeps me structured. And the behind the scenes stuff is the stuff that she does. As a nurse, she's super knowledgeable, but she picks my brain about stuff so that I can teach her, and vice versa. So Hefluence was created to help men walk in purpose. Because without this guy sitting beside me, I wouldn't be the man I am today. I think a lot of times in our life as men, we want to hear what we want to hear. Yeah. And at a very pivotal time in my life, in my mid to late 20s, Dr. Langley said, look, he said some funny things about, why is a guy your age, single and all this stuff, and he said, but here's what I want to tell you. He said, you're headed down this path that is not going to be good for you. You're the way I see your life happening right now. If you don't fix these things that you need to do. And I radically did that proverbial turn. And I think that that's the foundation. He didn't know this, but he started my change in the way I think and molding and shaping men to walk in purpose in their health, in their relationships, and in their finances. But it all starts with your health. Just from the scripture you just said, God gave us a temple. It's presenting ourselves a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. And I believe a lot of that of the temple comes from a spiritual standpoint. A lot of our health issues are not always tied just to our pillars. Most of them are, but a lot of them is tied spiritually. And so Influence is created to help men walk in purpose in those areas.
Yeah. One of the things that I had written down here was the importance of setting goals, that we need to set physical goals. Now, again, I'm not talking about your training for the next marathon or you're going to run the Ironman. Or not training. Yeah. If you are training for something like that, that's wonderful. I'm not saying don't train for those things, but the average person still should have a goal for their health. Because if you're fuzzy and not clear about what it is that you want to, who you want to be and what your health looks like, if you're unsure and confused about that, then that's exactly what your health is going to look like.
Yeah.
So it's important that you are crystal clear about how you want to steward your health and the tools and resources that are going to assist you to live a healthy lifestyle. Lisa, we were talking today about the word we feel like is the best word is not just health, but wholeness. And because wholeness, God wants us whole. I think of remember the story of the 10 lepers. Mm-hmm. So Jesus he performs a miracle and heals in the Bible 10 men who were lepers. So they were outcasts, they had to be outside the city and they had to walk around crying out, unclean, and all these things. And Jesus heals them. But one returned to give thanks. And Jesus said, well, where's the others? Mm-hmm. And then he says this to that one. He said, go and be made whole. So the others were cured of their leprosy, but leprosy causes your fingers to fall off and different, issues. So they didn't have the leprosy anymore, but he was made whole. He was able to walk in complete restoration and healing and wholeness. Mm-hmm. And that is our goal. We don't want you to just be healed. We want you to be whole. And so putting the right things in our body, treating our bodies in the right manner, having a goal that we're aiming for, all is a part of that process. So if it's important to you, you need to write it down.
That's what I was hoping you were going to say, because for me and any quote expert or leader in the industry, any industry, say that if you don't have clear, measurable, written goals, it really is just a dream or a wish.
Yeah.
And you need to keep it in front of you also.
That's so good. That's the law of intentionality.
Yeah. Your values, everybody has a value system. And you pretty much live, you can say whatever you want, but you pretty much live by what you really believe.
Yeah.
Okay. At the end of the day, people say a lot of things and they sound good, but we can always tell what you really believe by how you live, because your life follows your deepest belief system. So if you're a fear-based person, if you're wrapped up and bound in torment and fear and so forth, you can sound confident, you can sound a lot of ways, but we're looking at your life and we can see the results of your life are not freedom and wholeness, they're fear and they're all those limitations. So your values and your virtues and your inner beliefs I put this here, are the axle around which the wheel of your life turns. So make sure that you've established what it is that you are really after. What are your values concerning the stewardship of your health? What are your inner belief systems in this area? All improvement, we all want to grow, we all want to improve. All improvement in your life begins with clarifying what you really value, what you really believe. And then you have to commit yourself to the disciplines of living consistently in those within those boundaries, and so that you don't run off course. So that's how important it is to set those goals that are rooted and grounded in what you truly believe. Because I think a lot of people hear maybe a message of goal setting. Mm-hmm. Oh, that sounds good to set goals. That sounds good. But if you haven't established what you really believe first, it's doubtful, at least in my experience, mm-hmm. It's doubtful whether or not you'll see any measurable advancement towards fulfilling those goals if it's not really what you believe.
And what is it that you do believe? Are you believing the lies and thoughts of the enemy that you might not be good enough, you might not be worthy? Mm-hmm. If that's your value system, I hate to break it to you, you're not going to be successful in anything. You need to replace that lie with the values and beliefs of who God says you are.
Yeah,
make good. Those goals the things that you chase after.
On top of that, I like to teach men SMART goals. Sustainable, measurable, obtainable, right? and you know those things. Well, here's the thing about it. People know those things, but when they look at their goals, those 5 things don't match up with the actions that they take to make those things become a reality. And I think that that's just on top of what Lisa was saying. Your goals have to be intentional and they have to be smart if you're gonna follow through.
Yeah. So I think most people would say, well, yeah, I want to be healthy. I want to be fit. I want to, I've heard dad say, I need to lose some weight because my kids are growing. I want to be around when my kids grow up. I don't want to have a heart attack. And mom say, I want to be able to play with my kids. And so, it's a good thing. I think really God put it within us a desire to be healthy. Yeah. I think the heart of God is health.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say, I really want to die at the age of 22.
Yeah, exactly. So you develop a desire for those things, but like you said, Lisa, you also have to believe that you can obtain this. And I think a lot of people have become discouraged or depressed concerning lack of success in that area, and sometimes they just give up and like you said, listen to the enemy. It says you can't do this, or you'll always be this way, or you'll always weigh this much, or you'll never get to that goal, or whatever it is.
So identity, those lies that you've taught me for years, the only way we can overcome those lies is to replace them with the truth, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's why the Word of God, again, this is the foundation for our life. And God's a good Father. He's a good God. And He wants us to walk and to live in wholeness. My wife Lori and I, we've said this for many, many years. If you have a relationship with Jesus, if you have given your life to Christ, then you have a covenant with God. And you've got to listen to me. You've got a covenant right to walk in wholeness. You've got a covenant right to be made whole. So don't allow the enemy to supplant what God says about you. I heard another great preacher say this one time, and it's kind of been something that I really am living by. I can't afford to have a thought in my head that God doesn't think about me. Think about that. I can't afford to have a thought in my head that God doesn't think about me. And I'll tell you what, man, when you understand how much God loves you and believes in you and has provided everything that you need He's for and everything you need to succeed, that's a game changer for us. Changes the playing field, and you can pursue these things and you can get there. Mike, let's talk a little bit about just some of the things, just some practical tools where people might want to, let's say that I say, you know what, I'm really making a decision to begin to move toward a healthy lifestyle. I want to steward my body well. And so, there's progress comes in steps. We don't always, the old saying, how do you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time. So what would be some basic steps that wouldn't be so overwhelming, that would just start somebody on the pathway of measurable, repeatable success? What are some basic things in your experience? Because he's a personal trainer. This guy, people pull on his knowledge, both of them. Lisa is a nurse, but they study. Mike studies the science and behind the physiology. And so when he talks about this stuff, he's kind of an E.F. Hutton that I listen to. When E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen. So, but just give us some things without getting too deep in the weeds here that people can begin to walk towards.
Well, I think the most important things that you can do that are real simple, because now, as Dr. Langley said, whenever you're listening to this, we're coming through probably one of the most trying times for people's health in history, right? And the thing that people talk about is an immune system. What am I going to do? How am I going to stay healthy? How is this not going to affect me? And I think that there's really a couple simple things that you can do. Number one, I think 95% of people are not hydrated. I think drinking an adequate amount of water, if you're listening, you take your weight times 0.5 to 0.7, somewhere in that range. If you want a little bit more success, you 0.7. And and the second thing I think that you do is you get active. And Dr. Langley and I were talking about Dr. Gundry today. He said that if you walk 1 hour, maybe that's for you, that's riding a stationary bike. Maybe that's for you, that's getting in the pool if you're having some injuries or some health issues. Just being active 1 hour, 6 days a week. It's just, I tell people, people say, well, what if I don't like to walk an hour? I say, walk out 30 minutes and walk back, because if you go out 30 minutes, guess what?
You got to come back.
You got to come back.
Yeah.
And so
you can break it down too. It doesn't have to be 1 hour.
Yeah, it can be 30. It can be 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at night.
Exactly.
But here's what he said: it lowers your risk of disease by 75%.
That's astounding.
It blows my mind. And he showed the stats for it and stuff like that. But I think those are a couple things. And then one other thing I think, and then if Dr. Langley, however he takes it, we'll talk about that more. But I think another thing is just beginning to he talks about the last two things I would say is he talks about sleep. And I think sleep is one of the most important things that you can do for your health, because if you're not sleeping, you're dying. Okay. So I think you should set a certain time that you go to bed and a certain time that you wake up. And obviously that goes back to the last piece, which I think is the most important piece is what you put in your mouth. We talked about hydration, but I think eating is a big piece. And I think like Lisa and I, we've educated ourselves to the max about the best ways to eat. There's all kinds of fad diets and stuff up there. I don't believe in any of those. I believe everybody's body is different. But we have those couple really smart things that we can do. We can start eating fruits and vegetables. We can start eating organically if we can afford to do that. But the colors of the rainbow, the vegetables, the fruits, those type of things, and we can stay away from the processed foods. Those are a couple of little easy things that I shared last night on another podcast that can get somebody who's struggling going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And can I elaborate one little thing on our immune systems and drinking? Not only do you want to drink at least 0.5 ounces to your body weight, but if you are just taking a sip every 15 to 20 minutes, bacteria and viruses that are in the nasopharyngeal, your mouth and nose, those passages, they get flushed into the esophagus, into the stomach.
Yeah.
As opposed to
where
the
acids
trachea.
Destroy them, right?
Exactly. Yeah. As opposed to when you're dehydrated and you're dry, those bugs can live and they migrate into your lungs. And that's where you really get sick. And that's something that people during this pandemic don't even talk about. That's one simple way to keep yourself healthier. Yeah. Constantly take a drink of water or something frequently and keep moist.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to elaborate on that.
Yeah.
Something good.
A couple of things I had here. It's important to identify the information you need to achieve your goal, right? So, and here's two people that have good information and are willing to share that information with you. Lisa, what is if they want to read your blog or get that, how would they get to your blog?
I have a website, biohackingwithlisa.com.
Biohackingwithlisa.com. I love it.
My email is on there. You can reach out to me. That particular blog that she said is actually a PDF that I send out to people upon request. No charge, nothing. It's just, hey, I want it. Here you go. Okay. And I don't put you into like a big email spam list or anything like that.
Yeah.
So don't worry about any of that.
Yeah,
so
I got sucked into your email spam list. But that's good. I love it. Biohacking
with Lisa.
Lisa.com.
And then, of course, blogs on the website there.
Yeah, and of course, Hefluence. I know you give away a lot of free content also. Yep. Now, people pay money. I think it's fair to say. You can see our banner behind us. I want to give a shout out because these are kingdom people here. These are spirit-filled people, and I want to see them succeed. And I believe in them, and I love them, and I know that what they do and how they steward their lives is all about loving and serving people. And so that's something that we can get behind. But Michael, you do give away a lot of free content as well. So they could go to hefluence.com.
Yeah, they can go to hefluence.com. But what I would encourage them to do is to follow me on Facebook at Michael David Huey. Or you can go to hefluence.com. We have blogs on there. We have free content on there. But on Facebook, we're in a season where Lisa and I feel like God has just called us to just give as much value and content as we can so that people know that it's not about us. It's about leading people in what Dr. Langley said. There's 95% of the stuff that you listen to is 20th century stuff. It's just what someone has just been teaching for years. Or
worse, in my opinion, it's just marketing stuff to try and get you to buy products so they can make money
that they've been selling and marketing when there's better stuff out there. And so we're in the 21st century. Lisa and I are never going to do anything. We all, like he said, we all have to make money, but Lisa and I are never going to do anything. If we find a better way, we're going to do it. We're going to teach it. We're going to give it. So we want to give as much value right now because we're in the healthiest season of our life. Our family is healthy. We've been able to eliminate about 90% of medications from our family, which has just been amazing. And so those are a couple ways that you can follow us and just join and connect with Lisa and me and take the value that we give and the PDFs that we give and implement it in your life. That's the simplest way to do it.
I think you can, one of the things, we're talking about simple things you can do. I think it's important that you intentionally have people like this have voices that are speaking into your mind, and they're telling you can do this. Here's how you can do this, and they're giving this kind of information to you, putting it in your knowledge base, your database, so you can draw on that. One of the things I said is that make a plan, but also make a decision that you will never, ever, ever give up. You're never going to quit. You're never going to stop. You may have listen, I ain't going to lie to you. I think ice cream's demonic. And
he's been saying that for as long as I've known him.
If it weren't for ice cream, I'd probably be on the cover of Muscle Magazine. I don't know. But no, I'm just teasing with you. We all have our little disciplines where we got to watch out, our little gotcha traps and so forth. And but really, it is letting voices come into your mind that speak life and not death, and speak truth and not deception, and people that are in it to bless and serve and see you, help you fulfill your kingdom purpose and your destiny. So we want you to optimize your health. People often ask me, and we'll kind of wrap this up for now, and we'll talk about some additional health things coming up. What do I personally do? I get asked this all the time. Okay, I take a good multivitamin, and if you'd like to reach out to me, I'll share with you what I do there. These two are involved in what's called biohacking, and the technology behind it, the science behind it, is mind-blowing. I mean, it is astounding. We really don't have time to get into all of that, But
this one's the one who actually introduced us to it in the first place
one
without knowing it.
One of the technology.
It's
yes.
amazing how God works, because this is a passion of mine.
He just asked me a question about it, and I didn't know anything about it, and I just dove in and found out.
Right, but you are, you love to research the science and all that, and it is a passion of mine. And I use these products personally, so it's not just something I talk about; it's something I believe in and use personally. But even as I spent time with Mike and Lisa, I've been kind of taking a fresh perspective and look about what I'm doing, maybe what adjustments I need to make, not just where I've been, but where I'm at and where I'm headed. I'm always evaluating, that process. But I do take a good multivitamin. I drink the water that Lisa was talking about. I do what's called Peak 8 exercise. I love this. It's a high intensity. It's a version of high intensity interval training, and you can do it with any apparatus. You don't have to have any special equipment. You can do it by running. You can do it on an elliptical machine, a stationary bike, a treadmill, a jump rope, anything. But what it is you warm your muscles up. So let's say, for example, you're just going to do this running. Okay. So I might go for a slow warm-up jog for 3 minutes. At minute 3, you blast for 30 seconds, as hard as you can go. And then you walk and you let your heart calm back down for a minute and a half. So each interval is basically a 2-minute interval. 30 seconds of blast and a minute 30 of letting your body settle back down, bring your heart rate, and then you blast it again. Now, after 1 or 2 or 3, you might think, oh, this is pretty easy. Trust me. If you do it the way you're supposed to do it, and you really give a full 30-minute blast, by the end of that 8th one, and your cool down, and the cool thing is the whole thing takes 21 minutes. 21 minutes to do a complete Peak 8 in that rotation that I talked to you about. I've been doing this for years, and I love it. I absolutely, I see huge gains from it in the least amount of time. So that's one thing that I do. Strength training, we talked about that. Do push-ups.
You can do what you just said for your weight training also. I do HIIT training at least 3 days a week, where Lisa more than me hates being at the gym for 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
Okay. Literally she's looking at her watch. Can we go? Can we go?
I hate
machines. So now when I take her to the gym, we do 20 to 30 minutes of a HIIT training workout where we don't listen to anything. We block it out and we do exactly what Dr. Lang. We go hard for 30 seconds and we recover. Right. We go hard for 30 seconds and we recover. So we do that too, as well as with our work.
I've shared that Peak 8 routine with a lot of people, and I've gotten a lot of great feedback from it on that. Strength training again is important. Working on your core. I remember growing up, man. You remember how it was as athletes, benching. You got your back against a bench and you're pushing one muscle group. You're not doing compound exercises. So compound exercises are where it's all at, really. And make sure that you're working on core exercise, strengthening that lower back, and you'll prevent so many injuries. And we're both in our 50s. I'm soon to be seeing a different number here in just a couple months. So I'm hanging on that cliff by my fingers. But I want to tell you something. I'm in some of the best shape of my life. I run, I swim, I bike, I lift weights, do box jumps, do high intensity interval training. I try my best to live what we're sharing with you here today, because someday I'm going to stand before Jesus. And you know what I want Jesus to say to me? I want him to say, well done. You did what I told you to do. You went where I told you to go. You said what I told you to say. Come on in, son. I want to hear, well done, good and faithful servant. And I believe part of that is our commitment to steward our bodies.
Yes.
And so, what we're talking about today, I know we're laughing and we're joking a little bit about it and having some fun with you today, but it is serious. There's a very real enemy, and he wants to take you out. One time I was driving with this guy, and years ago, I'll never forget, he was an older gentleman, different generation. He made this statement to me. He said, well, bless God. He said, I'd rather burn out for God than rust out for God. And I sat there and I thought for a second, and I thought, Well, you know what? The problem with that is either way, you're out.
Very true.
I don't want to be lazy and rust out for God, but I don't want to burn out for God. I want to be healthy and whole and walk in fellowship with the Father and enjoy this life that God has for me. And part of that is how we steward our health. Just quick, the last thing is stretching. That's another thing that I try and do. I'm not as consistent as I need to be, but I've noticed stretching is super, super important. I'm
consistent at this.
Yeah, don't underestimate the value of a good stretching routine. You'll see the benefits from that also. So anyhow, I want to thank Mike and Lisa for just taking the time to be on here. I hope that if you get an opportunity, you'll check out biohackingwithlisa.com, check out hefluence.com. Obviously, you can reach out to me personally through our Global Leaders Network. And, anything that we can do to love you and serve you, add value to your life, to help you reach the pinnacle of your calling and purpose, that's what this leadership network is all about. So God bless you, my friends. Until we see you next time, we hope to see you at the top.